So, hello guys. It's been a while since I've released a video of this type to my YouTube channel, and I do apologize for it. I was gonna do two a day for the summer, but as you guys know, I was in California dealing with some family business, and even though I tried to keep up and video myself in California, it got too hectic, I got too busy, I got too frustrated by me trying to make videos and not making enough videos to sustain. But I just arrived back in New Orleans about a day ago, and I'm back in my studio in my office area where I do these videos. So I figured, why not? We should pick where we left off and continue throughout the summer. And if it goes past August 10th, um, I'm sure you guys will still appreciate the support. So, today we are going to look at the same AP Study Notes website we've been looking at, we've been diving into, but today we are going to focus on the outline articles of Confederation. So, I get this analogy a lot from both learning about the Articles of Confederation and teaching about the Articles of Confederation. So, and basically, what it means is the Revolutionary War got fought, and nobody thought we would win. Nobody would imagine America winning the Revolutionary War. In some instances, in some instances, the Americans didn't even think we were gonna win. We didn't have hope in ourselves. But we won. We won, and now we're at a point where we're like, oh shoot, we actually won this. We actually won. And now we need to create this sort of system. And the Articles of Confederation was the first system that we created, that we embodied. So, okay, we are going to start by talking about forming this confederation. The 13 American colonies had finally become free and independent states, but the task of knitting together a nation still remained. The Revolutionary War had served as a catalyst for the American debate over the form of government that would best serve an independent republic. The colonists posed a range of questions about their new nation's government. They tried to determine who the people were in the Declaration of Independence and how their definition would affect slaves, women, those without property, and Native Americans, among others. While the war was still being waged, notions of what republicanism meant were being formed on a state-by-state basis. Many, like Thomas Paine, felt that republicanism was a moral code of behavior as well as a system of government in which the supreme power of the country is vested in an electorate. Citing England's history, he believed that when citizens became selfish or corrupt, the republic would give way to tyranny. Fewer supported the opposing point of view, that the importance of individual self-interest was the basis of a republic's strength. In 1766, in 1776, the Continental Congress called the colonies to draft new state constitutions. As the states formed their constitutions, colonists considered the balance of power between the state governments and the government at the national level. Using their colonial charters as a basis, the states implemented their own ideas for the role of government in society. So these new constitutions were largely a state-by-state effort. The bummer is now that I'm in my studio, I have a board, but I only have one pen. So let's jot stuff down, right? So the Articles of Confederation was step one in the creation of the final Constitution. And the Articles of Confederation varied state by state. That's an important one because when it does become a state by state issue, then the colonists aren't united as one body. So all of the new constitutions were built on the foundation of colonial experience combined with English practice and showed the impact of Republican ideas. Some state constitutions reflected the approach that the sovereignty of the states would rest on the authority of the people. So we have a state by state approach by the people. And this phrase gets tossed around when we talk about the Constitution, when we talk about this idea of republicanism in our laws. And this debate helped form these state constitutions. Alright? So all of these states had different constitutions. So these states were not unified. And some people would say that's a big problem. That's the first problem we see under the Articles of Confederation, is that the states were not unified because each state was going by a state by state basis. What works for my state is not what works for every state. So they did not have a united front. Okay. So each constitution began with a Bill of Rights, which protected people's liberties against all branches of the government. Virginia Bill of Rights served as a model for all the others and included a declaration of principles such as popular sovereignty, rotation in office, freedom of election, and a list of fundamental rights. So, speedy trial by jury, humane punishment, freedom of press, most of the Bill of Rights we see today. So most of them had a Bill of Rights. And that's important, guaranteeing freedom. We'll have a big debate on the National Constitution Bill of Rights later down the road. Also included is this idea of separation of powers. And you've heard this in civics in middle school. What does separation of powers mean? Means a split between the executive branch, the legislation, the branch, and the judicial branch. How I remember this is actually how I got taught in school, and we'll have this discussion later down the road. The legislative branch makes the laws, the executive branch enforces the laws, and the judicial branch interprets the laws. Like I said, we'll have a discussion on that in a later video, but that's basically what the three branches of government and this separation of powers is alluding to. We'll have a big civics video later this week or next week. But that's what you need to know for part one of the Articles of Confederation. So we see all these state constitutions, they are meeting all together, right, to create this broad document about the Articles of Confederation that did not work in the long run because we figured it out. There is no taxes under the Articles of Confederation, no taxes, no trade rules, no powers. It's ran by the states. We aren't united. So there was major weakness to the Articles of Confederation. So in part 2, we are going to take a look at social revolution. And I hope to see you in part 2.